Hi everyone, welcome to Builders Voice, a new initiative by Pannoni in the form of a bi-weekly X Space session where we invite founders and builders in a Web3 space to share their insights on the evolving landscape. I'm Karen, I'm from Audley Network and your host for today. We're going to be diving into some groundbreaking developments in the Ethereum staking and AVS landscape, featuring none other than Eigenlayer. For those who may not be familiar, Eigenlayer is a revolutionary protocol built on Ethereum that introduces restaking, a new primitive in crypto economic security. We have a fantastic lineup of topics to discuss, including a review of what Eigenlayer has accomplished this year, a deep dive into the existing AVS ecosystem, and the exciting launch of permissionless staking, and also a comparative look at the Eastern versus Western dApps landscape. But before we dive in, let's kick things off by hearing from our guest, Suyang, the APAC Lead for Eigen Foundation. Hi, Suyang. Please introduce yourself and tell us a bit more about your role at Eigen Foundation. Sue? Hello. I think there's technical issues here. Sorry, guys.
Hello, can you hear me now?
We can.
Perfect.
Hello.
All right, yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, thank you for the warm intro. Hi, I'm Sue. I lead APAC at Eigen Foundation. And previously, I was at Eigen Labs, working on staker and operator side of strategy. And my background is in TradFi, so I work at Morgan Stanley on the trading floor for a couple of years before I joined the crypto side. So yeah, like at Eigen right now for APAC, I mainly lead community building and also a lot of our Eigen adoption in the region. On top of that, we're also working with my colleague discussing institutional adoption as well. So those are currently some of my key focus. Yep.
Great. Thanks for that intro. I think, let's start with a look back. It's been an eventful year for Eigenlayer. What do you think has been the most significant milestones for you guys this year?
Yeah, definitely. We've achieved a lot and done a lot in this year. I think I can name at least 3 big milestones that we've accomplished. So first off, want to start by saying we received the 100 million Series A funding with A16Z, so that was a big milestone for us. Essentially, really showcase that how our idea has been adopted, by all the mainstream investors, and that give us also the power to move forward. And then secondly, we have launched our mainnet. So for the past, we've always been on testnet. So this year, around March time, we have achieved a mainnet launch. This is a huge thing because essentially all the stakers will be able to see Eigenlayer in full picture. And then the last thing, which I'm sure a lot of people have paid attention to as well, is our token launch. So we launched Eigen Token, as we call it, an intersubjective universal token, around April time. And that has led to a lot of attention, a little bit of controversy as well. But essentially, the token was non-transferable first, so that people can actually like stake their Eigen token for Eigen DA to use as a security token. So that's element that we want to push for the public to pay attention to. So these three big milestones, I would say, are the most important thing that we've accomplished so far. Of course, we also grew a lot since the beginning of the year. And so now across labs and foundation, we have over 100 people. And our mission is still the same, which is to push open innovation in crypto. Yeah, moving forward from all the milestones we've achieved so far.
Thanks for that, Sue. And yeah, I think, every journey, and I think every project in the space like has experienced its fair share of ups and downs, and it's tough because perceived missteps, etc., play out in the public forum, and it's even more amplified. I guess, maybe can you share any unexpected challenges that you encountered this year, and has the feedback from the community and developers shaped Eigenlayer's roadmap in any way?
Yep, totally. Yeah, definitely, with every protocol, with all the attention that's been paid on. Hello?
Hello, we can hear you.
Hello? Can you hear me now?
We can.
Yep. Yeah, with every protocol, the more attention that you have, like the lot of pressure on you as well. We definitely have faced a lot of challenges. But we're very grateful that we have a very strong community, especially coming from Builders side, that's been supporting us from day one. So a couple of the challenges that we faced back then was a lot of it comes with launching our AVSs on mainnet. Because I remember I think we pushed our timeline to launch a bit earlier. So some of the AVSs were, really excited, and pretty much everyone wants to be the first batch to launch. So we definitely, that process was a bit definitely a bit rushed, but I'm very thankful that it all went very well because our AVS ecosystem builders have been super supportive. Just to name a few, like Outlayer, for example, have been a strong supporter for us since day one. So we're really grateful for builders like that to support us along the way, despite some of the hiccups along the way. And then also, I think later on as we grow, our team has expanded a lot. So our focus have also moved from more staker operator side to ecosystem growth side. We want people to pay more attention to our ecosystem, our AVSs. So how do we kind of better showcase our AVSs is another kind of key question we have. But again, with our strong AVS networks, I've seen that a lot of our AVSs are super proactively, promoting themselves alongside with a broader Eigenlayer team as well. So I think with that close-knit network that we have, we're able to, I would say, overcome a lot of the challenges, and I continue to see that being the case. Yeah.
And that actually segues very nicely into my next question, the existing AVS ecosystem. So we can get into the nitty-gritty of Eigen's core economic model and also the AVS landscape. Firstly, for those who are unfamiliar and listening in, can you explain what AVS, the ecosystem is? The active validation
Yeah,
services. And its
I know.
importance in Eigenlayer.
Yeah, it's interesting because, for an outsider looking in, and the AVS term may not be very straightforward, but it was actually coined very nicely. I think now most of the people understand what AVS is. This concept, of course, is also designed by our founder, Shram. It's called actively validated service. But I would like to understand it as kind of any protocol that needs economic security, especially like proof of stake economic security to leverage our network. So that like essentially any protocol, that needs POS system will be able to become an AVS in our ecosystem. So the scope is very wide. Hence, in our ecosystem, we have all kind of different builders in the space. So just to highlight a few, so for example, like for rollup service, we have Outlayer as our early stage partner, and then a few other rollup service provider like RAS, like Conduit, Caldera, etc. as well. And on top of like rollup, we have our in-house EigenDA, which is data availability service. So that essentially helps to better improve like the rollup space and cut down the cost for all the rollup users. And then moving away from rollups, we also have a lot of the DePIN project that's on us as well. So like for example, like Witness Chain being one of them. And we have like ZK coprocessors like Lagrange. And then there's also we have like opacity, etc. We also have like FHE focused team like Phoenix, Inco, Silence Labs, etc. So and then other than that, we also start to be more active in the MEV space, given that the searchers could also leverage our network for that. And then lastly, a category that a lot of people have been focusing on this year or last year is AI. So we are also working with a few partners on that. So you probably heard like protocols like Sentient or Ritual. Those are part of our ecosystem as well. So to kind of like give a little bit of a summary, we really have a really broad ecosystem, and then also covering all different sectors. So really it's grateful that because of what Eigenlayer is here to do, which is to help bootstrap economic security, that these players were able to like join us very early on and support this mission and really together to make things come true for us.
That's all very interesting, and I think that like with the AVS, like there have been some questions on how to
Hey,
attract.
Karen.
Oh, hello. Can you hear me? Hello? 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 I don't think Sue can hear me. Sue, can you hear me?
Hello.
Hello?
Hello.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Sorry guys, technical glitches. Right on time. Hi Sue, can you hear me? Hello? Sue? Probably important that the guests can hear. Can you hear me now? Hello? Hello? Hello, Sue. Hi, Sue. Are you back with us?
Oh, wow. I didn't know AirPod also could cause so much issue. Sorry, guys.
Do not use AirPods.
Okay, good to know. All right. Where are we?
So I had questions. I know you spoke about the AVS kind of like landscape. So I had some questions around that because I think, people are wondering how you attract AVSs first in the first place to Eigen and then keep them there. And is the model sustainable? So, for example, for any AVS that becomes successful, how I understand the model to work, and I might be totally wrong, is that they will need to forfeit revenue to sort of ETH eigenstakers, creating a net drain on the protocol as revenue exits the ecosystem. Now, this arrangement makes less sense for well capitalized, well positioned projects that do not need to gut the utility and value of their token to attract capital or validators. So, any AVS that does become successful and generates revenue will likely step away from, say, Eigenlayer to retain more of their own revenue and accrue more value to their own native token. So, I just wondered if there's sort of a way to make this all sustainable in keeping the AVSs long term, attracting them, and sort of retaining them.
Yep. That's a great question. I think I think I'll just touch on first like how we onboard, like how do we attract these AVS to join our ecosystem at first, and then touch on your question about, mature AVSs kind of like do not need the economic security. Um, so then they kind of like don't need to be part of Eigenlayer ecosystem. So yeah, I'll touch on the first part first. Yeah, so I think because obviously economic security is the one element that we provide for a lot of the AVSs, but it's not just that. Right. So a lot of early stage protocol come in because that's probably like pre-TGE stage for them as well. Like they don't have a token. So they need like economic security. And to bootstrap that economic security is not easy, right? So you will need to find your own set of staker operator and then have your own like staking currency. So with Eigenlayer, we essentially help to solve this problem. When you onboard with us as an AVS, you enjoy the network that we bring from staker, operator, and then obviously like staking capital side as well. So that's definitely one of the traction, but it's not just that. I think like
This space was downloaded via spacesdown.com. Visit to download your spaces today.
a lot of people kind of don't really see the full picture in the sense that our ecosystem has all different parts, right? For example, let's just use EigenDA as a use case. So our ecosystem as a whole, a lot of like the partners can actually work with each other and build something more like a full stack service for all the dApp builders. So for EigenDA, for example, it's doing like data availability. So essentially, it helps the rollups, like the what we call like app chain these days, to save cost. So for that, for example, like AltLayer, their RAS provider, they actually integrated with EigenDA directly to create a restake as a rollup service. So when you use their RAS, you'll be able to enjoy EigenDA as well. So there's like these like partners that you can be formed organically within our ecosystem. So essentially, it helps like different AVS partners to improve, like to kind of be more innovative. And then on top of that, they also enjoy kind of the broad distribution network that we have, not just Eigenlayer, but alongside with all the other ecosystem partner as well. I would say like most of our partners are in different sectors. So a lot of them are not really directly in competition with each other. So they really like, boost each other up, like with the distribution network and like being supportive of each other, helping each other, solving a lot of problems at an early stage. So that's essentially where I think a lot of our ecosystem value is. Now, moving along to your second part, which is, for mature AVS, why are they still around at Eigenlayer? Why can't they just do their own thing instead of like kind of paying for the kind of like additional fee? I would say like it's really up to the AVS to decide whether they see that the benefits that they can get from our ecosystem is no longer valuable or not. But I would say for most of the cases that we've seen with a lot of the mature partners, we do have a few projects that already have our token, but they are still, very, very active in our ecosystem. Reason being is that, we give them the option of one is option of choice that they can, either use like Eigen e-security, or they can also use their own token staking security. And you can even like do a hybrid model to like mix and match with that. So that's a protocol design that we already have. And recently we even announced like broader scope, which is allow any ERC20 token to be staked as a staking asset. So that kind of mix and match feature for them is an option because like not all of their tokens pricing is very stable. And if the pricing is not stable, what means is that the economic security might not be that strong over the time because with price fluctuate a lot, then the operators might not be, the amount that was set to be met at first might decrease later on. So it like makes operator more likely to collude as well. So they can like with this mix and match model, like they can leverage the Ethereum security, which is not something that was available before. So I'd say like that's one of the reason why a lot of these mature project is here. And another reason is what I said about kind of ecosystem synergy and ecosystem kind of distribution network that we provide for our partners. And then I think a lot of my colleagues, like a few of them who's been leading this since day one, like Jessie, who's 13-year-old VC, has been leading this effort, and she really unites everyone together. So everyone who's in our ecosystem are really happy to support each other. So I think those are the kind of emotional reason, like yeah, more like emotional alignment that we have for Eigenlayer ecosystem that will not be found anywhere else. I think a lot of people forget about that. All they think about is just like revenue, profit, like utility that make people stay. But I think a lot of time, like the community is really important as well. So like if people are happy working together as a group, I think like a lot of them, would want to contribute to the community going forward.
And you sort of mentioned one of the pivots for Eigenlayer around permissionless staking. You recently announced it now supports ERC20 token as a restakeable asset, now live on the mainnet. Congrats. Permissionless staking is sort of a buzzword, I think, but what does it actually mean in the context of Eigenlayer, and how does permissionless staking differentiate from traditional staking models on Ethereum?
Yeah. So I think I'll take a step back just to kind of touch on our initial vision of like that leads us to kind of the permissionless token launch today. So before we actually even in our white paper, first version of our white paper, I think Shram has mentioned this idea of multi-token quorums, which is like what I said about this mix and match model that let AVSs choose what kind of like economic security they would like to have outside of Ethereum. They could use their own token. So that idea has been there since day one. But obviously, as we start building Eigenlayer, the first step is to bootstrap that ETH security. So ETH was the default staking asset for us. And then slowly, when Eigen token was live, we introduced Eigen token as the staking like asset for Eigen DA. So that essentially is introducing the first kind of like whitelisted ERC20 token to be used as another staking asset outside of ETH. And then that was the kind of first two attempt. And then kind of recently, as we mature, as we grow, that we've seen obviously like what you said about mature project wants to use their own token as a staking quorum. So that really leads us to like open the scope to like any ERC20 token to be able to use as a restakeable asset on Eigenlayer. And this will essentially broadening the participation and security in the AVS ecosystem. So I think we're really excited for that. So that means that in the future, not just ETH or Eigen token, you can also stake any of these AVS token to help like secure AVS as well. I think it's a necessary next step for us as we evolve. And then we have a few exciting partnership with some of the big ERC20 token as well. So stay tuned, and we'll announce later on.
That's all very exciting. But with sort of like launching a permissionless staking model, are there sort of any risks or challenges associated with that? And what implications does permissionless staking have for individual validators and the broader Ethereum network?
Yeah, I think like one of the key risks of staking is obviously kind of like the slashing risk that everyone has in mind. So like for example, if you're staking on Ethereum network, like obviously if you like misbehave as an operator, you'll be slashed. So that's the case for us as well. So with more token being used, to be used as a staking asset, I think the operator risk and is also very different than before. So there will be a lot of like risk assessment that's been done on the operator side to evaluate whether they would adopt to work for a certain like staking asset, whether they're able to adopt certain staking asset. So that's like a additional kind of risk assessment that they need to do. But on another side, like for now, at the current moment, we're always taking kind of like a very cautious and measured approach. Right now, slashing feature is not live yet. It will go live like later on in the year. So for now, I think like operators, all of us are still in this kind of like more of exploring phase. So we don't want anyone to be punished for doing the exploration. Hence, like for the slashing risk, currently there's no slashing risk right now on Eigenlayer protocol. So that's kind of where we at. But obviously things are dynamic and will change. But a lot of the risk assessment will be done, by external party and also like internally, different staker operators and also AVSs will do their own risk assessment and decide what would make sense for them to all work together.
Sort of looking forward, are there any major updates or strategic partnerships or developments we can expect from Eigenlayer, at least for the next sort of 6 to 12 months?
Yep. A lot of things are happening. And, like on the protocol side, we have a very full schedule. Like labs team has been working very hard. So on protocol feature, we have like programmatic incentives that will be going live, and then also Eigen token. Regarding to Eigen token, there's so many questions. So obviously for this year, the token unlock will happen, and then on top, like after that, will be a lot of on token governance, and then on the protocol kind of like operator, staker and AVS side, AVS slashing, and then Eigen's intersubjective slashing will go live as well. So these are like a lot of like the milestones that we're trying to achieve in the next 6 to like 12 months. So we're really like, grateful for our ecosystem support so far, and a lot more things to come. Yeah.
Very exciting to see. I'll keep an eye out for that. And I think, lastly, this question is more for myself than anybody else. But since you come from a TradFi background, you must have a lot of thoughts regarding what's happening regarding the macro and how this is impacting this cycle. As you know, this bull run hasn't really had a linear trajectory. There's been a lot of up and downs. It's a bit of a strange one. So I just wanted to get your thoughts around this. When do you think, things are going to ramp up? I guess you can't really predict these things, but taking from your TradFi background, it'd be just interesting to hear your thoughts on the macro.
Definitely, yeah. This year has been extremely interesting, and every time I think any one of us like looking at the chart is just getting a small panic attack or a heart attack. Um, so yeah, I think like for this year, it's definitely. I think my sense is that things are getting better. So last year was pretty bad, as you know, with all the macro space. I mean, AI is probably the only narrative that took off in the last year until this year as well. Like Nvidia is recently tapered off, but like has reached like all-time high. I think like right now, I think in crypto, really, macro space wise, I think we've seen some good sign. For example, like recently, like BTC's kind of like achieved a bit of a recovery, and then like digital asset investment products inflow have also like seen a like largest increase in the past 5 weeks. So I see that like obviously the macro rate cuts expectation in September and October timeline is very much what people are focusing on. So I think with like the macro easing signal, I think things are gonna get better. So I do think we're trending towards like, a better market environment, but obviously, things are always kind of fluid, and we'll see what the Fed has like for the like next meeting. So probably get more clarity on that. But overall, I do feel like at least like the regional kind of like the trough is kind of over. And then more people are risk on with a lot of like the hedge fund managers that are kind of adding more positions now. So yeah, I think like we're going into a better environment, but in the near term, things will remain choppy. So I would say like cautiously optimistic is kind of what I feel right now for the market sentiment. But of course, like that doesn't stop people from trading meme coins. So I do see like different meme coins popping up here and there all the time still. So that's always like a fun element to observe at the overall crypto space. Yeah. Karen?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yep, yep.
I think the next notable event that will happen, that will have sort of a impact on the crypto landscape is, of course, the elections in the US that are coming up. So I think everyone's kind of watching that very closely. So let's
Yeah.
see.
Definitely. I think like with election, like if we have more clarity about who's winning, I think that will take a lot of the uncertainty off, and then that will also help with the market in either direction. It could be good or bad, like depends on who's gonna get elected. And in terms of like on the all the future policy on crypto as well. But you're right. I think once we have more clarity on the U.S. election, I think on the macro space, there's going to be more certainty, and that with more certainty, that always helps the market as well. Yep.
Well, thanks for your time, Sue. It's been great sort of having you on, sharing your insights and sort of getting a bit of a lowdown on what's happening at Eigen. I think I'm going to open up the floor for some questions from our listeners. So, Ramsey, please take the stage. Ramsey, please go ahead with your question. Ramsey, please go ahead with your question.
Hello, everyone. Hello.
Hello, we can hear you.
Okay. Thank you. My question is, what role does your token play in our ecosystem, and what are the benefits of long-time holding of your token? Thank you, my question.
Sorry, Karen, I didn't really catch that. If you have, like, could you repeat that question for me?
I couldn't hear it either. There's a lot of background noise. Ramsey, are you able to repeat your question if that's okay?
Okay. Thank you. My repeat question. What is your vision and mission of your project in long time? What is the project?
So I think he said, what is the mission of the project? If I'm not mistaken, I didn't really hear.
Okay. Yeah, I was like, I thought I heard mission or like vision. So I was like
What's
not
around
sure, but
vision,
I
maybe?
suppose this kind of big picture question. Yeah. Yeah, happy to share about that. I think on the big picture side, actually it's always the best to hear from our founder himself. He recently done 2 podcasts on this. One on bell curve, I think one with the block. Both he touched on like what essentially is kind of our future vision. I'll just like pick one point of out of all the things that he mentioned to just highlight it here. I think it's if you listen to Shram talk, like you get inspired really. I think for a long time, I think one thing that he mentioned regarding to kind of what we're trying to do here is that he sees that a lot of the activity that we have on a day-to-day level is like coordination, like for people to work together. And then, for example, like in the US, the Constitution is what we call like a coordination layer because like it kind of sets the tone for people, like how do people work together, etc., like how do we build the trust. And then like then the free market is the kind of innovation layer. um, so he see that like the tech has massively accelerated the what we call the innovation layer. It's like enabling people to do more. But the underlying of like coordination needs an upgrade. What essentially means is that like there how do we like work together in a more like trustless manner with the right kind of incentive and punishment in place. So if we could do that, we could like build like a trustless environment for like open innovation to take place. Then that really will kind of bring us to like a next level. So obviously this is very very big picture, and I think it's also almost like a bit philosophical in a way. I think like in the near term, like down to Eigenlayer protocol, kind of permissionless or like open innovation has always been our core DNA. So how do we like better enable that, like for more innovative product to come to come to life, and how do we incentivize like more apps builder, like dApps builder as well, to build more interesting apps for the ecosystem. Those are the few things that we are focusing on. Actually, internally now, like we have a new team that will be focusing on what we call AVS consumer. So what it means is that how do we like better put our like AVS use case in kind of crypto, and how do we find like dApps for AVSs to partner with, so that AVS really at an infrastructure level support these dApp builders and make sure that they can build like interesting social consumer apps very easily, and then to onboard more user into the crypto space. Yeah, so I think like big picture, and then like what Eigenlayer is doing right now. Those are two of the elements. Yeah.
Thanks, Suyo. Ben, question from you. I think he's connecting. Ben, please go ahead and ask your question.
Yeah, hello, am I audible? Can you hear me?
Yes.
All right. My question is, how does the E Foundation AVS ecosystem ensure the security and integrity of Ethereum stakers' assets, particularly in context of the increasing threat of MEV, that is the maximum extract value attacks? Thank you.
If I catch you correctly, you're asking how do we ensure the stakers' asset security, especially as MEV start to take off? Is that your question?
Correct. That is correct. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think okay, I guess like as it just like clarify that I don't think like MEV from operator side is like directly a risk issue for a staker's asset. So just like a breakdown about how staking works on Eigenlayer. So essentially, like if a staker deposit ETH into Eigenlayer protocol, the asset sits in a contract itself, and no one will be able to withdraw this asset on your behalf. Hence, there's like not really risk in the sense that people will touch your money. So I would say like the staking risk really comes with like two aspects. One is obviously smart contract risk, that's everything on chain is facing. And the second thing is on slashing risk. But currently slashing is not live on Eigenlayer protocol. So I would say like on those elements, I would say staking risk is very controlled. So on the MEV side, yeah, it's like a whole nother part. It's not something that Eigenlayer is directly kind of exposed to the operator MEV behavior on Ethereum. I think like obviously a lot of different operator has their own like MVV method on the Ethereum blockchain itself, but it's very different from what they're doing for Eigenlayer. Yeah.
All right. That is very much. Thank you very much.
Thanks for that, Sue. And we have time for one last question. DeFi Pizza. Why don't you go ahead? Go ahead, DeFi Pizza.
Hello, can I ask my question?
Yes, please go ahead.
Okay, thank you. My question is, ambassador helps a project to achieve their goal and towards match adoption. So, do you have an ambassador program too? If yes, how can I participate and be an ambassador?
Oh, yeah, that's a great question. Actually, on that, we do have a very exciting program that we will share very soon. So keep an eye out on our blog and Twitter announcement. That's actually likely to take place in the next 1 or 2 months. So there will be more detail to answer your question, and feel free to follow the guideline that's set up there. I'm sure like you'll find the right like the kind of like way to be an Eigen ambassador. So yeah, like really good question, and looking forward to seeing more people participating in our ecosystem.
Don't mind, I have one more question.
Sure, go ahead.
Okay. My question is, What do you think about the Asian market? Does your team plan to reach other countries with potential crypto markets and have large team and investor wanting to work and monetize crypto?
Um, I think like for Asia markets, definitely like a growing focus for us. Like we want to like, do more in the region, and we are spending more time like designing the right plan to do it as well. So we definitely want to see more builders, more ecosystem supporter, just like more of a Eigen evangelist to come out of this region. So really want to like, well, we will share our plan later on, but we really want to engage more in the region, and hence ambassador program will be one of the things that will be working on announcing soon. So yeah, definitely a lot of focus in the region, and me personally, that's like one of my key focus as well. So we're really looking forward to work more closely with the APAC region community.
Yeah, really great answer. Thank you so much.
Oh, thanks, guys, for sort of all your questions. They were great questions. And thanks, Sue, for coming on and joining us on this Twitter Spaces. It was very insightful. And thanks for sharing sort of all the latest updates from you guys and your thoughts on the macro. Hope you enjoyed it as well. But until next time, bye for now.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Karen, for having me. Thank you, everyone.
Of
Bye.
course. Thanks.
This space was downloaded via spacesdown.com. Visit to download your spaces today.